What's going on, Port fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel, and today we'll be reviewing Port Adelaide's round 12 clash against the Tigers in what was a fantastic night on Friday night, and we got the win by 14 points. But let's have a look and see exactly what took place and what were the game-changing moments from Friday night. So Friday night, what can I say? It was a fantastic game to be a part of. Friday night celebrating the Indigenous culture, wearing our Indigenous Guernsey after Indigenous ran last week. To continue on and celebrate that at the Portress was sensational to be a part of. Fortunately enough, we did get the win. It was a fantastic game of footy, especially in the first half. The whole night we put the pressure on the Tigers in what was a sluggish sort of game in the end, but nonetheless we did get the job done by 14 points, and the scoreboard probably flattered Richmond a little bit more than I guess we thought. In particular, we did probably win that game by a little bit more. If it wasn't for our poor kicking at the end, we should have put a couple more goals on the board and put some space between us and the Tigers. It was a nerve-wracking last quarter. The boys did look nervous, but you know, we got the job done, which is the main thing, and certain players can hold their heads up high, which I'll go through in a sec. But for me, Friday night was a massive statement, and I said to you guys last week, it's a must-win game. It's a game that was almost season-defining. It ended up being that, and we put the pressure to the Tigers early, hit the scoreboard early. I mean, they did fight back, as you know you expect as a premiership team to do so. But the big statement from that is the fact that we can compete against the big teams. It's just a matter of finding that consistency, and we found that it was a four-quarter effort on Friday night. Maybe it didn't look like it on the scoreboard, didn't kick 7 goals in a quarter every quarter, like the second quarter was, because that was sensational by the boys, especially in the second part of that quarter, which we really put the foot to the floor. But the statement in itself basically says that we're contenders. We're going to be playing a massive part in this year, as long as we can get that consistency. If we get that consistency, play 4 quarters of footy every single week, that's the standard we want. Sure, it might not be pretty every week, but if we can have that set standard, those key elements of pressure, our contested footy is good, and hitting the scoreboard on a regular basis, then there's no doubt that I have confidence we'll go into every single week with a chance to win, or if not, be favourites. But next week against the Dogs, we'll tell the story if we're ready to back it up after a stellar performance. And for me, another thing I learnt as well is the fact that the Portress is back. Never tear us apart at the beginning of the game is so loud. Not giving in is embraced even more. The crowd gets involved. And we've only lost one game this year at the Portress, which was against Geelong. So every other game we've won pretty well. So for me, the Portress is back, and we've got 3 games in a row now. Well, 2 more games after last week at the Portress. It's a big few weeks, especially being prime time, national stage, and Friday night shows that the Portress is back, and it gets quite rowdy in there, that's for sure, especially with the umpires, but they weren't too bad on Friday night, so a good job by the Port crowd with just under 40,000. I did feel like there was a little bit more there than that. I mean, I heard some people had some trouble at the gate with their tickets not scanning. You know, it was weird. I really felt like it was at least 42, 43. But anyway, another thing that came out of the Friday night's game, which other than our contested footy, our immense pressure, but a great clearance work once again, and a masterstroke by Kenny Hinkley throwing Chad Wingard in the middle. First of all, to find some form. Big thing for Chad is to find some form, get some confidence back in his game. You know, maybe not enjoying the game as much anymore. But now, putting him in the midfield, whether or not that's a regular occurrence now, he had, I think, most of the time in the middle. He got 31 possessions. He was great in the clearances. He got tackles, which was a key thing that he did not get in the midfield, in the forward line, sorry. And he put his pressure and put his presence around the footy, which really helped us get the ball out of the middle. Ryder dominated the ruck contest and gave our forwards the best opportunity. Now, the only negative with that is the fact that our clearance work is so good, our entries and efficiency going inside 50 is still an issue. Hence the reason we're not scoring as much goals as we did last year. We're not getting as much clean ball in there, and it's more becoming, let's just put it in the pocket and hope for the best. We saw in that second quarter, 7 goals to 2. the way we scored goals was free-flowing footy. Why not have that every single week? Why not have that every single minute of the game, of every single quarter? You can't sustain that sort of pressure and, you know, speed for an entire game. But to see glimpses of that every quarter would be great. You know, you go on a burst, 15 minutes, 3 goals, 4 goals. Like this 5-goal quarter, 5 goals in 10 minutes that we did last week. Big games from last week as well was from the 3 Ws. Wines, Westhoff, and of course, as I mentioned, Wingard. The 3 Ws, they were fantastic. Wines in the middle, getting his clearances, his contested possessions, which was 16 of his 29 touches. Westhoff, 3 early goals, which sets the tone. He also had 23 possessions, and he's just a barometer, Westhoff, and he's fantastic. And as I said, Wingard with his 31 possessions and his 8 tackles as well in the middle. But just to touch on Westhoff for a sec, he's like a... Forget Ollie Wines. Justin Westhoff is the finest of Wines. He ages brilliantly, and he just gets better and better as he gets older. He's the new Dustin Fletcher of the AFL. And, you know, for him, 230-odd games, he's going to go down as one of the better players to play for our club in the last 20 years. And I definitely think that beard just gets better and better every single time. But well done to Westhoff. He's in some fine form at the moment, and he should continue that on in the coming weeks as well. Just to touch on the second half a little bit, I thought both teams went into defensive mode. You know, you saw the Tigers trying to come back, claw their way back, and they switched it up to keep their pressure more inside 50, but we were able to maintain that. And the key thing was we didn't get sucked into everyone going inside their 50. We kept players out. We kept Dixon one out with Rants, kept him back from the contest. We had Robbie Gray there too, who was just surrounding Dixon. Players like Motlop and a couple of halfback flankers I noticed as well were just kept outside of the 50, creating that wall. So in case we did get the break, which we did get a couple of times in that second half, we capitalised, and Richmond had to find a different way and a different avenue towards goal. And I think the main thing with that as well is the fact that they didn't have any scoreboard pressure at all. Rewalt did kick 3, but their smalls had no influence on the game. Shane Edwards was great early, couldn't impact the contest after that. And we just went pound for pound with Richmond, which was fantastic little positive there. And, you know, the second half was slow, but I'll tell you what, to then play their game as good as them really helped us get the victory. And it was a little bit nerve-wracking in that final term, no doubt about it, and for us not to kick a goal. But nonetheless, Richmond didn't put the foot to the throat, and we ended up winning by 14 points, which was great. And yeah, the second quarter won us the game, as simple as that. It was a tight contest the whole way through, and we bet the reigning premiers, which we've done so, I think, 5 or 6 times under Kenny Hinkley as of late in his little tenure that he's had at the moment. So play the 2016 premiers next week, the Dogs. Thursday night footy, which is a interesting time slot for some fans, but we'll discuss that in the preview coming up later this week. But let's move on to this week's Champion of the Week. Alright, this week's Champion of the Week. It was a tough one to pick, and I'm going with the bloke that was put under so much pressure for his form and to bounce back the way he did in some fine fashion in the midfield was Chad Wingard. 31 possessions, 8 tackles. Didn't hit the scoreboard, but his hard contested play was a lot better, and his clearance work was so much good. Did so much good for the team moving forward. And I reckon if he can, add a couple of goals to his game, he's going to be one of the elite midfielders. We know he can do that. He did that on a few occasions last year, but I think the main thing is the fact that he's going to find some form in the middle now, and Kenny realises that, and as soon as he finds some form, he really finds the love for the game. He's going to be one of those electric players that we knew he would become. Alright, Port fans, time for the votes for round 12. We know that a win is 5 votes, 3 votes for a loss, so thankfully we got the win last week. So let's go straight into it. 1 vote goes to Sam Powell-Pepper, having 28 touches and having immense influence on the game. And being on Trent Cotchin, who did influence the game early on, really kept him quite later on. He only had the 20 possessions, Cotchin, 28 himself for Sam Powell-Pepper. So well done to Sammy. He is finding some form after his little incident earlier in the year. So good to have him back playing some good footy. 2 votes goes to Jared Pollock. Now, it's an interesting pick because he started the game awful. like literally made clanger after clanger, free kick giveaway. He was making awful decisions, but for him to come back in the second quarter and create those opportunities for us to kick those 7 goals, and then to finish the game off so well, his running power, he's a barometer, and he creates opportunities from, you know, running from defence to attack. He's the key to that transition, and when he's on, Porter on. So Jared Pollock, to turn your game around like that and influence the game so well, he was fantastic. So 2 votes for Jared. 3 votes goes to the Hoff. Hoffy was sensational all night. He did have a little bit of a quiet second half, but 3 goals in the first half, 23 touches, and his influence around the contest, and especially playing more of a forward role and helping out Charlie Dixon, who was good early, set the tone for the rest of the game and really created our opportunities going forward. And Hoffy's just having a fantastic year, and it's good to have him in some good form, and that beard is looking sexy as always. 4 votes goes to Chad Wingard. Now, you can argue for the 5 votes and 4 votes for Chad. 31 possessions, 8 tackles, fantastic in the middle, a lot of clearances as well. But you can't base that, give him the full 5 votes, because the bloke that did get 5 votes just had a little bit of an edge, better than him, and took some great marks. But Chad Wingard, welcome back to form, mate. Hopefully we see you in the middle a little bit more and creating some good clearance work and some opportunities down forward too. So good on Chad, welcome back to form. 5 votes. The next captain of the Port Adelaide Football Club. He's staying. He's going to sign. I can tell you that right now, because I believe that he will. Ollie Wines. 5 votes. 29 possessions. 16 of those contested. Had a great influence on the clearances and in the contest as well. And took some fantastic marks. He's got great hands for such a bloke who's such a ground ball player. And those thighs. We're working absolute treat on Friday night, so well done to Ollie and all the boys, because they did a fantastic job against the reigning premiers, and I can't wait for Thursday night. It's going to be an absolute ripper. Well, Port fans, that wraps up this review of Port Adelaide versus Richmond. Thank you very much for tuning in on Spreaker and through YouTube as well. Make sure you just subscribe to the channel if you're new for plenty more Port Adelaide content coming your way on a weekly basis, round by round. We preview, review, vlogs, and all everything in between to do with Port Adelaide, so stay tuned to the channel for more. Subscribe also to the Portress Podcast on Facebook every Wednesday night, 8 PM, so make sure you tune in there to hear me. And also everyone on Spreaker, if you can't watch me, listen to me, the link is in the description below for you to hear my lovely voice on the go. So thank you very much for watching, Port fans. Thursday night footy next week. I'll see you all then. Thank you very much for watching once again. My name's Anthony, and as always, come here.